Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to another True Crime Time with Junebug. That's me. And if you're new, thanks. I don't blame you if you don't want to stick around. Rocket's very needy right now. Say hi. And he's got a new collar that's extra jangly, so I'm sorry in advance. But he's a stinker and he gets into things he shouldn't, so we need to know where he is at all times. So that's why he has a collar with the bell. He's very cute. So hopefully he's good. But this is kind of a part 2 of the video last week where I talked about Frances Ewald. Remember how I said I did research for the Lady of the Dunes and these two women were disqualified? They're not the Lady of the Dunes, but they looked into if they were possibly, if either of them were possibly the Lady of the Dunes. Hey, spoiler alert, no, but I wanted to know what happened with them, so I dug, don't eat my hair. So I dug deeper into them to learn more. So last week I covered Frances Ewald, who had the least amount of information. Hey, so this week there is more info, not a ton, but there is more info about Vicke Lamberton. So yes, that's who we're talking about today, is Vicke Lamberton, and this takes place February 1st of 1974. And I always mention the age of the victim in case anything with children bothers you, or if someone's your own age, if that just strikes a nerve. But Vicke was 24. This takes place in, it looks like Worcester, Massachusetts, but maybe it's pronounced Worcester. Sorry for the people who live there if you haven't watched this. And unfortunately, this is a unsolved case, just like Frances's case is. So let's get into it. Vicke Lee Lamberton, who was born Vicke Lee Lockwood, was born October 30th of 1949 in Harper, Kansas, where she was raised. And again, just like with Frances, I know nothing about Vicky's upbringing, unfortunately. Like, I don't know how that was. From what I saw, is believed she was kind of ashamed of her upbringing, so she would tell people she's actually from Colorado. I don't know why Colorado, but she just thought it was better than Kansas, I guess. So we're skipping ahead from her birth to college, because that's what I could find next. So she would attend Union College in Nebraska, where she would actually meet her future husband. Now, her future husband's name is Lowell Lamberton, and he was actually one of her professors. Oh. After like hitting it off and just doing relationship things, they would move to Worcester, Massachusetts in 1968, and they would wed in 1969. And I do believe Vicke, she was a pretty young bride. She was, I believe, about 20 years old. Now, Vicke obviously was pretty smart, just from what I've gathered here. She was where she met her professor husband at Union College. Now, she would get her undergraduate degree from Clark University and was on her way to getting her master's in psychology, actually. And she was working towards that master's degree at Assumption University, or it used to be known as Assumption College. I've heard it called both, so I just wanted to put both out there, just for your information. From what I saw, they had no children. I don't think they did. And their relationship may have been a bit strained. I don't 100% know. I'm just basing it off of like just this case, essentially. I could be totally wrong, could have been wonderful, but I'm basing it it's strained because the beginning of 1974, Vicke and Lowell were separated. Not divorced, they were just separated. Now, Vicke would move out of their house. I believe they shared a house with one of her brothers, and she would move most of her belongings from the house into the garage of one of her psychology professors, whose name was Dr. Roger Barker. Now, it is heavily suspected she was involved with Dr. Barker. Now, this has never been like confirmed, but Lowell, like her actual husband, and many others suspect they did have a thing. Dr. Barker was also married, just wanted to throw that out there. Why did they suspect they were together? Well, one, the garage thing. Seems like an awfully nice thing for just a random professor to do. Two, Barker went with Vicke to New York to help her apply for her doctorate in psychology at Columbia University. And three, they were supposedly seen together at a local mall. Ooh. Now, just because you go to the mall with someone doesn't mean you're dating. But just the fact that they were seen out in public together. I've never hung out with one of my professors outside of school, so it'd be a bit weird. You know what I'm saying. However, despite seemingly maybe being with Dr. Barker, Vicke would call Lowell after being separated about 6 weeks, and she wanted to talk about reconciliation. She actually wanted to see him the weekend she got back from Maine because she was going with one of her girlfriends. Unfortunately, though, this would never happen because Vicke has never been seen again. When she never called Lowell back, or she never met up with Lowell for their lunch dinner situation, he would start trying to find her. Quotations around find because you'll see. So Lowell obviously would try calling her many times with no avail. She never picked up. He also called the friend she went on the trip to Maine with. Turns out there was no trip to Maine, and that friend actually hadn't spoken to Vicke in quite some time. So when that confirmed there was no trip to Maine, Lowell, would then contact Assumption College to get in contact with Dr. Barker to see if she was with him actually this past weekend. Turns out Dr. Barker was actually in Colorado, and he was hospitalized with pneumonia, so he was staying there weeks longer than he intended. And Vicke was not there. So nothing really happened for about a month, unfortunately. So fast forward, Lowell would actually finally talk to Dr. Barker, I believe in person at his house. And Barker claimed to actually not know Vicke very well, and that they had, he stated they did not go to Colorado together. He also implied that he believed Vicke had actually found another lover, which is kind of weird for someone to say if they didn't really know you that well, but Dr. Barker confuses me a little bit, honestly. But essentially, Dr. Barker was saying he didn't know nothing. He knew nothing about Vicke's disappearance, from what we can tell. And knowing that she didn't go to Maine, she wasn't with Barker, supposedly, literally nothing else was done. One of Vicke's brothers actually would work tirelessly to try to find where she was, try to find answers. He, from what I saw, passed in about 2009, and he was still trying to find answers up until the day he died. Now, he wasn't working tirelessly due to negligence from authorities, as we've seen in other cases where unfortunately the family has to step up and be the investigators or hire a private investigator. It was actually authorities were never contacted, and a missing persons case wasn't even filed until 2010, 36 years later. I was alive. I was 11 when this finally was brought to authorities' attention and a missing persons case was filed. My parents weren't even born when this case happened, but I was alive when it finally got reported. That's crazy. Now, why? Why did it take 36 years for a missing persons report to happen? Well, it turns out most people, except her one brother, thought she actually just left of her own accord. That she just upped and left and didn't tell anyone. There's the reasoning behind the fact that she's ashamed of her upbringing, supposedly. The whole multiple lover situation with being married to Lowell, then possibly having the affair with Barker, and him suggesting she found another lover. And there's a fact that Lowell was told by Vicke, he says, that Vicke said, quote, "I'm going to go someplace where nobody knows who I am," end quote. Apparently, she also at one time wanted to change her skin color to black. I don't know the reasoning. They think it's just to change her appearance, to just follow that line of thinking. She wanted to go someplace where no one would know what she is. And I'll put up the pictures here, but there's been a decent amount of pics of her changing her appearance. She's had black hair, she's had red hair, she's worn glasses, she's had blonde hair. Like, if I didn't know these were the same woman, I honestly don't know if I would realize they were the same woman. But I mean, I've also had many hair colors. That doesn't mean I want to like fade into obscurity or like disappear and start a new life, but it is something to take note of. And unfortunately, because thing happened, 36 years passed, the report is filed, and then in 2012 was the last time I saw an update happened. So 12 years ago now, they actually found the last woman, like person who talked to Vicke, and it was one of her friends, but it wasn't the one who she was going to Maine with, if that makes sense. Apparently, this woman told authorities that Vicke had called her, I think it was the same day she called Lowell and wanted to talk about reconciliation. She told her friend that she actually was going to Colorado with some other friends. So that makes it a bit more suspicious on Barker's part, but we don't have anything to confirm this. Like that she actually went to Colorado. So I personally think this little crack in the case actually leads to more questions than answers, in my opinion. But I obviously don't know the whole story. They keep many things from the public while an investigation is ongoing. In that same 2012 article where I saw the update, Lowell, like her husband, ex-husband, because he did remarry eventually, he truly seems to believe she's just out there somewhere and she just wanted to start a new life. He does want to know, like, why she left, where she went, like, is she okay? But he does believe she's alive somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't think he'll ever get that answer because if my research is correct, he did pass away in 2021. Or he got all of his answers in the afterlife. We don't really know. And that's pretty much it for this case. There wasn't much to see because honestly not much was done. And I don't know if I can blame Lowell necessarily. I obviously didn't know Vicke. But from these like instances of like her saying she wants to disappear and just, I could see how they would truly think she just left and she's just like, peace out. But at the same time, I don't think there's harm in filing a missing persons case. In the off chance, I know my audience is small, but I gotta try. If you know anything, Vicke at her disappearance was 24. She was 5'3", 110 pounds. She had light brown hair and brown eyes. And she is white. I don't know if she did try to alter that, like she apparently wanted to do. But at the time she went missing, she was very Caucasian looking like me. Even though we don't truly know if she left of her own accord, she is actually classified as an endangered missing on her Charlie Project page. I don't quite know why. I don't know if it's because it's been so long and no one's ever seen or heard from her. With Frances, it was a bit more, there's more like substance as to why she's considered an endangered missing. But I don't 100% know why with Vicke. But again, if you know anything, very slim, but I have to try, you can contact the Worcester Police Department at 508-799-8651. And I, of course, will have the number on the screen as well. But that is it for today. I realize now I forgot when she was considered to maybe be the Lady of the Dunes. She's obviously not. It was, as I've mentioned many times the past couple of videos, the Lady of the Dunes is Ruth Marie Terry that has been solved, thankfully. But I think it was early 80s. Not right away, they didn't assume it was Vicke or anything, but they did consider her. So sorry I forgot to put that into the timeline, but in either case, she's not the Lady of the Dunes. So what do you think? Do you think she did leave of her own accord? Did she just start a new life? Is she just completely fine out there loving her new life? Do you think something truly did happen to her? Did Lowell do something to her and trying to cover it up? Or do you think Dr. Barker did something to her and is trying to have it be covered up? I don't quite know what I think. I could see between like those 4 options I just listed, I think I give each one a 24% chance in my head. Like, I really don't know. She stumps me a bit. And maybe that's what she wanted. But no one knows. I honestly don't know if this case will ever be solved. And I know that's very pessimistic, but 36 years to start the investigation, like 36 years after the fact, it's a bit late, to put it lightly. But let me know what you think down below. If you have any info on the off slim chance, rewind to the contact information. And if I happen to miss anything about Vicke, please share it down below so everyone else can see as well, because I know there isn't much. But there was more than Frances. Thanks for tuning in, and sorry about Rocket's little jingly bell. And see you next time. Bye, guys.